Meanwhile, back at the Ranchi, it's the fourth test between India and England, day one, and it's Ask George. You nearly forgot, didn't you?
No. I liked back at the Ranchi. Very good.
Yeah.
Look at you, so pleased with yourself.
Been thinking about that one. Hope people get the reference. In fact, I'm not even sure where it's from, to be honest. But so today, I mean, Joe Root, does he root out or does he get rid of Bazball? You know, what's your thoughts on that? Really, then that's the story of the day, isn't it?
All the thinking went into the pun on Rudge, didn't it?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't. I knew what I was trying to say there. Did he weed out Bazball? I couldn't, and it had a mind block. Did Joe Root weed out Bazball? Was my But it's quite an interesting one, isn't it? With all the on Twitter, now known as X, you know, it's all sort of, oh, stop telling Joe Root what he should do. He knows what he's doing, and all this sort of stuff, isn't it? It's quite a good sort of dialectic, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess. Let's do the questions because that's what they'll be about, isn't it?
Yeah, true. But don't forget, we're producing these videos all the way through the 5-test series, and you can submit your questions via our social media channels at any time during the test using the hashtag AskGeorge. Remember, you can read all of George's exclusives from England's tour of India and more by subscribing to the Cricketers digital offering for only £3.99 a month. Just follow the link in the video description. Now,
masterful.
I think we've got an updated question list, haven't we? So the first one is from Jack Rule, a regular on here, and he says, has Joe Root shown he knows what's best for Joe Root?
It's funny that, isn't it, how you can look at the same thing and even have all the same data and come to completely different conclusions. Because you could absolutely argue, just as Jack is there, that Joe Root has proved that he knew exactly what he was doing all the time. Or you could look at it and think, actually, Joe Root's had a bit of a wake-up call after a couple of really disappointing games. And he's reverted to old Joe Root, and maybe he did need reminding of that. So I don't know. You, as I say, it is incredible how you can look at the same data and come to different conclusions. Which is, I mean, I was thinking of this earlier. You know, when Donald Trump, when there's another terrible shooting in America, and Donald Trump says, "Just shows there should be more guns." It is kind of the same with any sort of data. Data doesn't provide answers. It just enforces, generally anyway, not always, but very often it just provides ammunition to people on completely different sides of the debate.
Yeah, I think there's a generation as well who are more reverential to superstar cricketers and don't like to question them or think they can question them personally. But
well, I don't think anyone's particularly sorry. Not many people are actually questioning. I did have a few tweets from people saying time to drop Joe Root, but you know, they must have only had 20 minutes out of their straitjackets, and that's absolutely great that they get to use the internet. But not many people were saying that, were they? It was just he was going through a lean patch. I think he was averaging 25 in England's last 7 tests, and clearly not performing to the high standard that he has set himself. So I think it's entirely reasonable to reflect on that and comment and observe that. But I don't think anyone was seriously saying that Joe Root's over.
No, I don't think they were.
But the fact is, today he played a fairly traditional test innings, a traditional Joe Root innings. He didn't try and force the pace. He wasn't trying to get rich quick scheme, as I've termed it in the past. He even cut out the sweep for most of his innings. And he played a sort of attritional, accumulating, old school innings, and it was terrific. Just shows there's time and place for different things.
Yeah, but also it shows, you know, we no one was saying seriously to drop him, but people were saying cut out the reverse ram, weren't they? And he had a similar sort of
not just the reverse ram. I mean, to be fair, at Vizag in the second innings, he was out. He sliced a sort of point, and he was playing a horrible hack sort of over mid wicket, attempting to anyway. So it wasn't just the ramp. It's not as simple as being one shot. It was just that it seemed that he was trying to be something he isn't. And in circumstances where it wasn't appropriate. But today he went back in specific circumstances on a tricky wicket. He went back to playing a more old school innings. It would be very interesting to see when he talks about it what he says.
And with all due respect, I'm just going to make my point because I know this program's called Ask George, but he had a similar Damascene moment last year when he sort of said to the press, "Oh, I've been getting a bit carried away, or I'm trying to find my tempo when it comes to sort of Bazball and the new era." And then he got that marvelous 100 in the second test at Wellington, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Which I think was the slowest century or the slowest half century made under this regime, the Wellington innings. So today was his second slowest, but that was today was the slowest century. But that innings at Wellington, I'm pretty sure, was the slowest half century made under this regime. They're all different, and what works for Crawley and Bairstow might not work for Root, and vice versa. But he has a defence, which Crawley, with no disrespect, doesn't have the tightest of defences. So Root is able to play in the way he did today, and they're not. So, I think it's pretty obvious what happened today. He went back to playing a more traditional conservative approach, and it worked a treat.
Occidental Tourist asks, moral victory for India as England resort to playing proper test cricket, ? You
see, lots of people are obsessed by the term Bazball, and I don't really like it anyway. I try not to use it. It's kind of a brilliant term in that it has been accepted. It is how this regime is going to be remembered. So it's kind of worked a treat, but it sort of doesn't describe what they do at all. For a start, it gives McCullum far too much credit rather than it being McCullum and Stokes. And I think Stokes is the dominant personality, to be honest. And at the same time, England have never said, really, this is what they do. It's always been a bit simplistic. Anyhow, always moral victories with England. Always.
Okay.
You're just as again, you're welcome, India. I mean, it's what Ben Duckett said, isn't it? After in Rajkot, sorry, I forgot where we were. When he said it's great to see India playing aggressive cricket, it's great that we've inspired them, or something to that effect. And I don't know if it's tongue in cheek or not. It didn't seem it at the time, but maybe it was. Either way, you're welcome, India.
By the way, I like your gilet. Is it gilet or gillette? Gillette?
I don't know.
I like the juxtaposition of the navy blue with the burnt orange. It's very, very nice.
Well, I thought if I didn't wear this over the top of the orange, I just looked like an orange or a satsuma. I was just worried someone might peel me.
Right. Swap Nil Singh asks, who knew that attritional cricket can be fun and effective too? I did. I knew.
It was brilliant. I mean, it was brilliant. It was reassuringly undramatic. I wonder what people who have been converted to watching cricket because of the approach that England have played in recent times. I wonder what they thought. Genuinely, I don't know. Did they think it was boring? Maybe. I loved it, but we're hardcore, aren't we? We literally watch cricket for a living, so we're not particularly typical. I would like to think that most people who like the game think there's room for a bit of nuance, a bit of variation. So I don't know. I'd be interested to hear if some people thought it was really dull. I don't think anyone either, by the way, should just be saying, "Oh, this proves that method doesn't work." It's much more complex than that. What England have done in recent months has worked up to a point, and sometimes it's worked incredibly well. So I definitely don't want to be sitting here saying it doesn't work. In fact, we saw it work at moments today. I thought Zach Crawley played really well. I thought Johnny Bairstow played really well. There's just different ways of doing things out there, and a bit of balance might seem to be the best way to go.
Yeah, and Joe Root, not to get too funky. Right, Matthew Wright says, is it fair to say that one of the most admirable qualities of this England team under Stokes McCullum is their ability to bounce back under pressure?
Yeah, that probably is fair, isn't it? I think that there's a lot to be said for their methods and their ethos, which is, it is a game. It's not life and death. It doesn't really matter. Enjoy yourself, express your skills. There's a lot to be said for that. And Stokes has always said there'll be times when you have to soak up the pressure, and he's led the way in doing that. He's had some very patient starts to his innings, his best innings, I'd say. So it's never as polarized as people like to make out, to be honest. But that's the problem with the term. Brilliant term though it's been, it just polarizes.
Mr. Andrew Miller, of course, came up with that term. He's proud of it.
Yeah,
Isn't he?
well, so it
Rightly
should
so.
be. I mean, it's absolutely.
Clever.
What do I mean? Captured the zeitgeist. If that isn't too pretentious a way of putting it, it really was.
It spawned, doesn't it?
It was, sorry?
It spawned a phenomenon.
Yeah, it's how this is going to be remembered. Yeah, it's probably, ironically, how he's going to be remembered.
Right.
What does he think of that?
I remember him with his feisty medium pace bowling. Now, what else? Background noise.
He is a very good medium pace bowler. He nips it back. Yeah.
It's handy, yeah. From my mould. Right. Background noise says, what a perplexing pitch. At times has looked inadequate as day one wicket and then looked docile for periods. What have you made of it?
Don't know what to make of it. I pretty much agree with that. I thought, but at lunchtime, I thought it wasn't a very good test wicket. I mean, you don't mind, personally, I don't mind as much lateral movement as you want, personally. Spin, seam, swing, can live with it. Because, to be honest, there's nothing worse than a dull pitch, and it wasn't dull. But variable bounce does seem to bring merit out and chance in. And so when you've got Zach Crawley playing one off his face, off the glove, and you've got Ben Stokes being bowled by one that kept pathetically low, it's a problem. Now, I think that England supporters are, and actually should be, loath to ever comment about pitches because they don't want to be seen as whinging. And quite rightly, in my view, England utilise home advantage and everyone should. No problem with it at all. But we should still observe and tell the bloody truth. And variable bounce ain't great, particularly before lunch the first day of a test. Now, I would think it would get worse, but it didn't seem to during the rest of the day. Maybe it was just the ball got softer, and I don't think Siraj bowled great, did he? I think it's the sort of pitch where you want to hit a length, as Deep did actually, and stick to it and let the pitch do the hard work for you. Is that Honey?
Not Honey. Is
that on my end? Is that
yeah,
my
I
end?
think so. Yeah. She's not there.
It's a shame. Where does she go? I mean, when she goes out, where does she go?
I'm not on my own today, so other days I've been on my own, but now I've got somebody with me, my wife to take, who's just taking her out. So yeah.
Okay, I thought you just meant like she got shopping or something. It just sounded a bit weird. Anyway, what we say? You would think the pitch would get worse, but actually it didn't seem to. But generally, you would think that those cracks would widen as the game goes on. It's not that hot, but it's warm enough. And you would think the batting would get significantly harder, and winning the toss and batting first was a huge advantage, you would think. But sometimes pitches just die. I don't know what they do in Ranchi. I've no idea. But in county cricket, sometimes you just see pitches die. And let's see. But at 112 for 5 at lunch, was that right? I think you think in England are going to struggle to get 250, which at that stage I thought was a pass score. 300, they're right in the game, whatever happens.
I thought Siraj bowled well at Folkes. He sort of worked him over, didn't he, a bit, sort of luring him into that clip off his legs.
Yeah, that's fair. And he bowled a great bowler, Hartley as well. But just generally, I thought he went searching for it a little bit. At one stage, after his first couple of spells, he was going for sevens, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, he's obviously a very good bowler. But I think England could learn from the way they bowled. And it is probably, I think Ollie Robinson actually and Ben Stokes could be a real handful. I don't know if Stokes is bowling or not, but he hits the pitch hard. He very often makes the ball go in. It could be quite hard work.
Okay, well, this is the last question. It's from Sushant, and he asks, or they ask, resting Bumrah, this pitch, losing the toss, almost like India want to make it 2-all.
I'm sure that was meant tongue-in-cheek, but it is amazing. I mean, Bumrah is such a special cricketer, and I hope people don't give him any grief for not playing, in the same way that I hope that Virat Kohli hasn't given any. They work so hard, and it's so difficult to be away for as much as they are. And Bumrah looked very, very tired. He might well be the best seamer India have ever produced. Look after it, mate. So I think that there's a long way to go in this game. India, obviously, without a lot of first-choice players. And it's slightly unfortunate that he misses this game. But what are you going to do? He's been magnificent in this series, and I thought he looked really, really tired at times in Rajkot. So, I don't think there's anything untoward going on here. I mean, you can tell that some of the players they brought in the last couple of games have done really, really well. And I was talking to a couple of Indian journalists who were saying they were worried about the depth of Indian cricket.
Really?
It looks quite deep.
Yeah, you'd think it was vast, wouldn't you? And I mean, it was never an issue when we were growing up, was it? Because tests were fortnightly every second Thursday. And although I suppose some people would play a game against a county in the middle, but back-to-back tests for a fast bowler are less than ideal, aren't they? To be honest, less than ideal.
I think if you look back on this will be unpopular, but if you look back on old-fashioned tests, I think bowlers didn't retain the paces in the way that modern bowlers do. I think it's very different. I also think pitches are probably generally flatter. I don't know. How was in all measurable sports, basically, people run faster, jump higher, further. Was Harold Larwood probably bowling at Dominic Court pace? I don't know. There'd be there should be a way of finding out, shouldn't there? I mean, should there not be a way of measuring?
Well, there's footage of him, and I presume you can measure how quick he is. I mean, I think he was quick, but maybe that's just me being old-fashioned. But and I've read the brilliant book about him by Hamilton, and I mean, obviously he was the quickest of his day. That's beyond dispute. But I'd like to think he was quick, and he was a sort of exception and a phenomenon. But of course,
yeah, maybe. But if you look at, maybe. But Roger Bannister ran 4-minute mile, and it was amazing. And a lot of people do it now, don't they? I don't know. Yes. What do I know? But I'm just saying that most measurable athletic achievement, there has been improvement. A bit weird, wouldn't it? If bowling was the one thing there wasn't, wouldn't it?
It would.
Don't know. Again, let me. I'm not meaning to have a go at Harold Larwood or any other fast bowlers or anything, but I also think pitches are a bit different. And you can't necessarily tell from batters' reactions, can you? Don't know.
3 pints of beer at lunchtime probably didn't help the cause, did it? To be honest, but as we gained from that book,
the bowlers.
Yeah, Larwood had 3 pints of beer every lunchtime. Yeah, I mean, according to that book.
Did he?
Yeah. And
I don't remember that. I mean, I've heard the stories of Truman and co having a drink, but
fuel for fast bowlers, and the Nottinghamshire captain was it.
You're
Carr,
always looking to add half a yard, aren't you? I mean, no one's ever said, "Do you think you should drink more?"
Yard of ale, yeah. No, but apparently Carr was a big advocate of it. So
Those are the days.
Yep.
Those are the days for journalism too, when John Arlott had someone carry his red wine up the stairs into the press box for him.
Yeah, and E.W. Swanson.
Happy days.
E.W. Swanson had somebody mix up a nice G&T for him at tea time.
Well, we used to get that. This is boring for people, but when we started our careers many years ago, you used to get a cocktail in the Kent press box. Do you remember?
There was, I remember a fridge full of Spitfire beer.
No, not that. There was a cocktail waiter who would come around and take your orders on the first day of the championship game. So no.
There was a bar in the Lord's press box, media centre as well, wasn't there? You could get.
There was one of my favourite days in cricket was 2001. Somerset won a trophy, which didn't happen terribly often because I'm a Somerset supporter, and I was covering it for the Cricketer, I think. Or it may have been Cricket Info, maybe both. And then the bar went wrong, and they said, "Sorry, the bar's gone wrong." Oh, I thought that's a bit of a shame. We're not going to be able to charge you anymore, but they could carry on serving us. So my brother and my dad came to sit with me in the press box after play, and England beat Germany 5-1. It's not very often that England beat Germany 5-1 with a free bar, with Somerset just having won a trophy on the same day.
No.
It's as good as it's all been downhill.
If Carlsberg did dream days, yeah. Right, we're hitting 20 minutes. We did the boring bit at the end this time. So
Oh no, we put a bit of boring stuff at the middle and the beginning too, I reckon.
just to plug
I
my
think
interview.
we've go on. Tell us about Pat
Plug my
Pocock.
interview with Pat Pocock on YouTube.
That's what the kids want.
Yeah. Right.
A 75-year-old off spinner.
Who's done
No,
it in
it'll
India.
be brilliant.
Got some good stories to tell. We'll
You would have. Well, he helped.
the-
He won a series in India, didn't he? In that 83, 84?
84-5.
84,
Yeah.
5, yeah.
So your loyal viewer will be back tomorrow, George, and we'll you take care of yourself, yeah?
Thank you. And you.